Well, the verdict is in. Scooter Libby guilty on 4 charges, but critical questions continue to loom large. Why didn't Dick Cheney receive a report of Joe Wilson's findings in Africa? That was at the heart of this question. And if he did, why did the President's State of the Union address say that Saddam was seeking uranium from Niger? Let's bring in the hardballers, MSNBC political analyst Bob Shrum and former Bush 41 aide Ed Rogers. Shrummy, I want to ask you this. It seems to me there are levels to this story. We can't do them all in the next couple of minutes, but the charge against Scooter Libby, which the jury agreed with, was that he lied under oath to protect the vice president from the fact that he learned from the vice president about Valerie Wilson. In other words, the vice president was giving him instructions on how to deal with the Wilson threat against the administration's case for war. How do we explain this story to a regular person watching right this moment who's never been in this case before?
You don't explain it that way. That wasn't the charge to the jury. Go ahead, Bob.
Well, I think
sorry, I had to say something.
There's more coming here.
Ed, that's all right. We'll mix it up. I think you explain it quite simply. This may be a case where the cover-up does pay. What's going to happen here, I don't think Scooter Libby will spend 1 day in jail. I think George W. Bush will pardon him on the way out the door, just the way Bush 41 pardoned Caspar Weinberger, the former defense secretary in the Iran-Contra scandal, on the way out the door. I think the deal has already been made, implicitly, probably not explicitly, and I don't think we will get to the bottom of this.
You were anxious to speak.
Well, I mean, I'm anxious to say the premise within your question that he somehow lied to protect Cheney, that wasn't the charge before the jury at all.
Yes, it was. It was the count where he claimed he heard this from Tim Russert rather than hearing it from the vice president. That was the particular charge.
Huge extrapolation of the facts. But hey, he got found guilty today. That's a bad thing.
He swore under oath that he got this information from Tim Russert when the jury found he got it from the vice president.
Justice wasn't done. Bob is trying to preempt the notion politically that the president may grant a pardon. The president won't grant a pardon anytime soon, but that's what the Democrats want to start talking about.
Will he do it? Will he do it in December, about midnight before Christmas?
The president, he said he's going to follow the Justice Department guidelines, unlike Clinton has done in the past. So the answer is we will see. It's discretionary. It's unlikely. They're going to appeal. The process is going to continue.
Let me ask you a legal question, which confounds us all. In the next couple of months, we have a decision by the prosecutor and the judge as to how much of a sentence to give Scooter Libby. During that time, Scooter Libby has the liberty, as the prosecutor pointed out today, to negotiate, to give information against the vice president or anyone else who's under a cloud in the White House. What stops Scooter from saying, I'd rather spend 3 months playing tennis in Allenwood than going to medium security in Leavenworth somewhere for 5 years?
I know Scooter Libby. What stops him is the truth. Scooter Libby will tell the truth. And the sentencing guidelines are what they are. I think he has.
What has stopped him from telling the truth?
I think he has told the truth.
You mean the jury's wrong?
I think his defense told. Yeah, I think the jury was wrong. I don't think justice was done. I think it's unfair what's happened. I think it's bad what's happened.
How much did you kick into the defense fund to justify this argument?
I made my contribution, and I'll do it again.
But why do you question the jury now?
Because I don't think justice was done. I know Scooter Libby.
You can't just keep saying you know Scooter Libby.
Should have happened. There was.
Ed, stop
he knew there was no lie. No, I'm not filibustering, Bob.
Stop filibustering.
He knew the prosecutor knew there was no lie when they.
The jury spent 10 days.
For no reason.
Ed, I think you're talking a lot because you have nothing to say. The jury spent 10 days. They had 34 pages. They went through charge by charge. They acquitted on one of the charges. The jury has found that he lied. Patrick Fitzgerald, who is not exactly a Democratic Inspector Javert, he's a Republican U.S. attorney from Chicago, at least until you guys throw him out, is the one who brought this case and prosecuted this case.
I give you all that, Bob, but that doesn't mean justice was done today.
What about the jury?
But you have to have a reason why it wasn't done. You can't just say, gee, I like Scooter Libby.
I've got a reason. The reason is there was no underlying crime, and the prosecutors knew that, and they continued to badger Scooter Libby until he said some immaterial things that turned out not to be true.
You know, I'm a non-practicing lawyer, but I'll tell you one thing I learned in law school. Tell you one thing I learned in law school. Perjury is a crime. When you get asked under oath, you have to tell the truth. He was convicted of perjury today.
You're right about that, but was it perjury, or was it memory, or was it criminal? Was the question?
The jury decided.
You're right about what the jury did.
Decided.
The process is going to continue. Justice wasn't done.
So you believe? Let me ask you one question, Ed. You're getting upset here. You're close
Yeah,
to
I'm sad about
Do you
this.
believe that, fairly so, do you believe that Scooter Libby simply had a bad memory?
I don't believe Scooter Libby would lie to anybody about anything. I don't think he would lie to an official of the U.S. government. I don't think he would lie to the FBI. I think he is a good, decent man, public servant.
So that's an a priori judgment on your part.
He is not a partisan hack. He's not a partisan in any way. Scooter Libby is a straight arrow.
Who happens now to be a convicted felon,
and
who also happened to be part of an
tragedy.
effort by this administration to
come
lie
on.
the country into a war in Iraq that we never should have fought.
That's
We'll be right
not
back with
right.
Bob Strum and Ed Rogers. Let me start with Bob Strum on the question that we opened up with a can of worms here in this case, and it's still open, and that's the war and how we got in it. The latest polling is devastating. The question which keeps being asked to the American people, do you think this war in Iraq has been worth it? A frontal, total question. And the number of people who say yes keeps dropping.
Look, we were told that we were going to have a surge. There was going to be peace suddenly descending on
Nobody
Iraq.
said that. Nobody said that.
The peace was
That's
going to descend on...
unfair.
You know, Ed, just let me finish,
Please,
then you
go
can
ahead.
talk for a minute. Good. Today, over 100 Shiites were killed. Over 30 people were blown up in Baghdad. 9 U.S. soldiers were killed. And we're being told, well, the mission's kind of being accomplished because some neighborhoods are better off. That's a little like saying that crime in New York is down because we moved it from the Bronx to Queens. What's happening here is that we are trying to impose order in a society where there's no political consensus. Until we get political consensus, we're not going to get a solution. And George Bush is going to go down in history, and Ed's going to get really mad at me now, as having lied us into a war that is the greatest foreign policy disaster of our time.
George Bush believed the same things that the Clintons believed, that the Democrats in Congress believed, that the Democrats Senate voted for. There were no lies, and you know it. And the biggest lie being told right now in American politics is the notion that Bush lied us into war. Well, the Clintons believed it.
The Bush
His
gave them
Secretary of State
the president gave the information to the Congress. He was the source of the information.
And it was his pick for the CIA that gave it to him. Come on, I mean, let's not argue what is fact. We made some mistakes.
Dick Cheney was sending people over to the CIA to pressure them.
Some of the reasons we went into Iraq, but it wasn't lies, and
Tonight,
you know it.
It certainly was.
Tonight, let's go to the central aspect of this whole leak case. Was there a deal between Saddam Hussein and the government of Niger to buy uranium yellow cake? Yes or no?
No.
Because that's what the president said in the State of the Union?
It appears not.
Okay.
But it is debatable as to whether or not that was deceitful. It's not debatable whether or not it was deceitful or a mistake.
Where'd the information come from? Where'd the intel come from? Joe Wilson says he shot it down.
And Joe Wilson is the most discredited man we've talked about tonight, not
Well, no,
Scooter
actually,
Libby.
I think the most discredited man we've talked about is Scooter Libby. He's not a clown. He's a patriot. That information was unreliable. The British refused to use it
Bob, it's
themselves.
not like you to
Joe
deny
Wilson
the
went
truth.
to
What is the
Africa,
truth? Joe
found
Wilson
out
is no
it was
patriot.
inaccurate.
Joe
The
Patriot
Scooter Libby Defense Fund remains open for membership, gentlemen. Thank you. If you want to send some money for Scooter Libby, please do so. Anyway,